This is printmaking I did back in first year. I was an observation drawing of my younger brother and then I printed it out. This is an example of some of my second year work. I drew an observation drawing of my classmate and I used ink to make it more expressive. Our folders will be used for our ideas and our examples and projects for the next 3 years. This is my third year folder. I drew this picture using an observation drawing of an acorn and I also drew the birds from my imagination. This is an example of some of the research we do in third year and second year. I researched this artist and I found his techniques and his art interesting and I tried to put some of that into my design idea. This is another example of observation. I did an observation drawing of the wheat and the Reese's and then I changed the background and used my imagination.
For our junior cycle, we were given other themes, and the theme I chose was the garden. For my first page, I researched other artists which had similar art styles to the theme garden. For the artists, we talked about what we liked about their art and how it was similar to our theme. In the first page, I also did another observation drawings of flowers and pine cones in my own garden. For this page, I developed on further and I did observation drawings of people working in the garden, and I did a portrait of myself with goggles on to show that I was working at a garden. I also did other observation drawings of buildings outside of the classroom and worked on different media and textures of paper. And for this page, I had to figure out which material I was going to use for my project, and I used lino printing. And this was examples of what I was going to do for my lino print. I worked on color schemes and experimented the art style. This is an example of what I was going to use. I carved out some of the material for lino printing.
This year in art, we have been mainly focused on graphic design in areas such as CD covers, movie posters, or other various forms of media. To start, we're given a theme, mine being contagion. We are then tasked with expanding upon it to further fuel our finished piece. Then, we begin with detailed observation drawings. For me, my first was a detailed observation drawing of my friend's head. I then incorporated the theme of contagion into it by putting cracks or large gashes on his face to give off the feeling that he's dying. As well as this, I created portraits of hands. This one in particular has rainbows shining through, which I related back to it by saying, even in illness, happiness can shine through. All our observation drawings and all detailed drawings that we do all come together when we are given our steps. This is a task that basically allows us to bring them all together to see what we might like our finished piece to seem like. We are given things such as a proposal for design or its layout. We are proposed its lettering, what style we might like, and then we have artists who inspire us or who might relate back to our theme. For me, my lettering is very bold and not very cartoonish. This is because contagion itself is related back to disease, which I do not see as a joke. The name itself is Vento Nero, which is Italian for black wind, which itself seems like a dangerous or not a cartoonish name in nature. As for my artists, I chose people such as Yoji Shinkawa and John Romita Jr., people who have inspired me and influenced my art for years. They have used dark colours as well as light ones with very detailed drawings in many of their pieces. And finally, we have the finished piece. This is where I incorporated all my previous drawings as well as most of my research. A man with hands cracking apart. He's somewhat in glee as his disease spreads to his face. I then added the title, as well as a box down here for details, and then one final word of consumed along the side. As for the background itself, I covered him in a sheet of white paper, painted the background black, and then speckled it with red paint to give off the feeling of blood or death.